Hi guys, welcome to day 5 of the Lockdown Personal Growth Challenge. We have had an amazing time up until this point, and I know that after today we have just 2 more days left. So I want us to keep up that momentum, keep up that energy, keep up that drive. I know today's a Sunday. I know everyone's probably busy worshiping at church and whatnot, but it doesn't stop us from continuing the challenge. And so if you weren't able to watch the live, please make sure you check the recording of today's live class. It is going to be a quick one today, if I'm going to be very honest, because like I said, it's a Sunday. I don't really want to take up too many people's private, personal, spiritual time. So today we are talking about how to overcome fear and how to realize your full potential. And I want to just kind of ask you this question: that are you generally have you had times where you've just found yourself constantly thinking and constantly worrying about the future? Maybe you're worrying about your income, or you're worrying about your relationships, or you're worrying or you're afraid about what is going to come or happen in the future. And the truth of the matter is, feeling afraid is actually a natural reaction, is a natural human emotion. It's something that we all experience. But what I want to teach you today is how to not allow fear to hold you back. Because what most people do is, when they are afraid, what really happens is that they cause themselves to be held in bondage. They don't make any steps. They don't move forward because they are afraid of the unknown. And whilst fear is meant to be something that keeps us focused and keeps us grounded, it is not designed to make us feel stuck in our tracks. It's not designed to inhibit us from us doing what we need to do. And rather, I would like to propose that we should use fear as a motivator. We should use fear as a leverage, as a stepping stone to get to the places that we desire to get to, because fear often keeps us in action mode. It can give us that adrenaline rush that we need in order to get certain things done. So today I want to encourage you that even though you do feel afraid, I want you to try and get to a place where you honestly, deeply let go of your fears, and understand that being held back in fear will not serve you for the greatest purposes of your life. It will not serve you for the things that you desire to do, and rather it will hold you back and keep you stagnant. Okay, so I want you to make that decision. Just take a deep breath right now with me and just make a decision that I am going to start living my life fearlessly. I'm not going to allow fear to hold me back. I'm going to pursue my goals, my dreams, and my desires with courage, with vigor, with purpose. And I know that even when I face situations, I will face them square on, and I will deal with them. So just make that commitment to yourself. I'll give you a couple of seconds to make that commitment. So now that you've made the commitment to not allow fear to hold you back, let me share with you some tips that you can practice. And this is what I use, guys. I'm back, guys. I'm so sorry about that. I always tend to forget to put my phone on do not disturb whenever I'm going on live, and true, that's when everybody wants to speak to me. I've never understood that. But anyway, I want to share with you some tips on how you can overcome feeling afraid. But before I do that, guys, share with me in the comment section whether you tend to be afraid of things, and what do you tend to be afraid of. Just let me know. I want to kind of have an idea of whether fear is something that you guys experience, and in what areas of your life do you guys experience it. Share with me in the comments. So here's the first thing that I do when I feel afraid. I write down my thoughts. I write down my fears. A lot of the times we are so afraid that we don't confront or even understand why we are afraid. And what happens is that we end up living our lives not really understanding why we are afraid. We end up living our lives not really appreciating that actually things that we are afraid of, we don't need to be afraid of them. Okay, so I start by writing down exactly what it is I'm afraid of. And sometimes it's hard to articulate. Sometimes I don't know what I'm afraid of, but I just know that I just have this sense of anxiety and sense of fear and sense of worry. And if you don't know exactly what the cause is, just start by writing all of the things that come to your mind that relate to that feeling of being afraid. And let me tell you why this is important. When you can get to a place where you can fully identify why you are afraid, it gives you a tangible evidence for you to know how to deal with the fear. When you can write down to say, you know what, I'm afraid of taking this step because A, B, C, and D, it allows you to look at the A, B, C, and D and find ways to actually tackle those A, B, C's, and D's. So writing down your fears, trying to understand why you are afraid, getting to the root of why you are afraid, and looking at practical solutions that you can apply to help you to overcome those fears. And what you will find is that you will either see that there's a recurring pattern, that you're genuinely afraid to try something new because you don't want to fail, or you're afraid to start a new relationship because this is how the other relationship started. You will see your patterns, and your patterns will tell you how you are living your life. And the ways that in which you're living your life will present an opportunity for you for how to actually make changes that you need to make. The second one is to live in the moment. What do I mean by that? I believe that if we are constantly worried about what has happened in the past, or if we are constantly worried about what is going to happen in the future, I believe that the relevant space of time, which is the present time, is a time where we're not living. If you are focused in the past, if you are focused on the future, and you're not in the present moment, you're actually not living. Why? Well, because the only time that you actually have life is in the moment, is in the now. It's when you are breathing. And you only breathe in the moment. You don't breathe in the past, you don't breathe in the future, because those two time periods don't exist in the present. So living in the moment is about trying to bring yourself to a place where you only appreciate and focus on what is happening right now. Fear is usually a projection of something that has happened in the past, or an expectation of something that will happen in the future. Fear is based on what has happened, is a projection of what has happened in the past, or an expectation of what will happen in the future. And in those two time zones, you are not present, you are not living, you are not existing. I dare to say you are not alive, because you cannot live in the present, neither can you live in the future. You can only live in this present moment. And so getting into the habit of living in the moment means paying attention to what is going on right now. If the thing that you are afraid of isn't happening to you right now, then there's no place for it to give you fear, right? If you can pay attention to enjoying the quality of the things that you are enjoying in this moment, you do not have a reason to look back and be afraid. Neither do you have a reason to look forward and to be afraid, because you're only consumed and focused on the good things that are happening in this moment. The third thing that I want to talk about in terms of overcoming fear and helping you to realize your potential is that you have to take control of your mind. And if you have been with us over the last 5 days, you would have known that this has been a repeated theme in every single topic that I have spoken about. Whether it's the first topic about building your confidence, whether it's the second day about how to be motivated, whether it's the third day about overcoming negative thoughts, or even yesterday where we talked about dealing with frustration. Your mindset is so important. It is what filters into every single experience that you are going to have. And so it's going to be virtually impossible for me to ever say anything to you about your personal growth and your personal development that does not go back to the quality of things going on in your mind. And so what do I mean by taming your mind? I want you to think about a wild animal. Just think about a wild animal, maybe a lion or a tiger or a gorilla, and just think about how unpredictable these wild animals are, how they can be so dangerous if they are approached in the wrong way. That is what the mind is like. The mind is like a wild animal. If you don't learn how to harness it and control it and tame it, it will take control over you. And I shared with you on 2 days ago that the human mind, on average, we think about 70,000 thoughts a day. Out of those 70,000 thoughts a day, probably 80 to 90% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. They are habitual, repeated negative thoughts. Now, if you do not have the ability to identify when you're thinking negatively, to identify when you need to bring your thoughts back into a positive alignment, your mind will take over and take control, and you will begin to experience an avalanche of negativity in your life. So, overcoming fear requires you to get into a calm space in your mind and to tame those fearful thoughts, to bring those thoughts into captivity, as they say. And what that really means is that when that fearful thought comes, you don't allow that thought to escalate into something wilder. You don't allow that fearful thought to then take over your whole life and prevent you from taking action. But rather, you look at that fearful thought, you appreciate that this thought has come into your mind, but then you make a decision that you are not going to be run by that thought. That is what taking control of your mind is. That is what it means to tame the mind. It means being disciplined in your mind. It means allowing yourself to be more disposed to positive thinking than negative thinking. It means that you don't allow your mind to go into the places that's going to give you a downward spiral, but rather you find your mind stabled on things that are positive, things that are joyful, things that are loving, things that are kind. Even the Bible talks about it, that we must focus on the things that are loving and noble and peaceful and loving and kind. So if the Bible understands that there is a need for us to have a control over our minds, it must mean that this is something that we have to do. So if you ever find yourself feeling sad, or you're feeling worried, or you're feeling fearful, take control. Take control of that mind. Take control of that situation. And sometimes I've taught about this 3 times now in each of the classes, what I call a break of state, a break state, a state break, which is where you interrupt the patterns of the mind. It's where you interrupt your thoughts. And so sometimes you may find yourself that you're lost in your thoughts. You're thinking about all sorts of things. But if you break that state, maybe you go for an exercise, maybe you go for a walk, maybe you watch a movie, maybe you read a book, you do something that gets your mind shifted from that thing, you will find that you are able to actually recuperate and get back into a place of better thinking. The last tip that I have for you is letting go of the past. So many of us, and we probably don't even realize just how much of the past we hold on to, but so many of us hold on to the past and use the past for reasons why we are afraid to do something in our present that will secure a better future. When you hold on to the past, you deny yourself the ability to have new things come your way, because you cannot receive from a closed fist. You can only receive when your fist is open and you have the capacity to hold on to something new. And I personally believe that the greatest form of human suffering is in our inability to let a thing go. Some of us have been through painful experiences, but we have not let that painful experience go. Some of us have had devastating disappointments, but we have not been able to let that go. Some of us have failed so badly in certain areas of our lives, but we have not allowed ourselves to let that go. If you are someone who is constantly thinking back to what has happened in the past and you still have active, raw emotions about what happened to you in the past, it means that you haven't let go. And for as long as you hold on to the past, you will always be operating from a place of fear, from a place of anxiety, from a place of doubt, from a place of distrust about what is possible for you in your future. So you've got to absolutely learn to let that go. How do we let go of the past? One of the fundamental ways of letting go of the past, and it can be anything, is to come to terms with what it is. You have to be able to accept what was and know that that was what had to be for whatever reasons, whether it was good or whether it was bad. You have to accept what has happened. When you get to a place of acceptance, it literally releases every hold that the past can have on you. And I know this because I have implemented this many times in my life. Some of you may or may not know my story, but 2 years ago, or now 2.5 years ago approaching, I lost my husband. Suddenly my husband passed away in February in 2018, very unexpectedly. And for a very long time, it was very difficult for me to understand why this happened. It was hard for me to deal with why it happened because I didn't understand it. And I realized that for as long as I was trying to hold on to the reasons and to hold on to trying to figure out why this happened, I couldn't move on. It was a day when I decided that I was just going to make peace with the fact that this is my reality. I'm going to stop fighting what is and accept that this is what has happened. That was the day I began my healing journey. That's the day that I began to see things from a more higher perspective, understanding that every single thing that we go through in our lives, even the most painful, heart-wrenching experiences, all still serve a purpose. And I shared it yesterday, and I believe I shared it the day before yesterday. The scripture, which is one of my personal favorite scriptures, that talks about all things always working together for good. And this is how you have to look at your past. No matter what you have been through in the past, no matter how bad it has been, you have to get into a mind space to believe that even through these hard times that I've been through, good can still come out of it. When you have that belief, it makes it easier to let go of the past. We let go of the past when we allow ourselves to stop feeling hurt about the past. We stop feeling hurt about the past when we simply accept what has happened is what has happened. Where we don't try to justify it, where we don't try to seek revenge, where we don't try to understand it, where we don't try to relive it, where we don't try to change it. We just accept it as it is. And then we move into a place where we breathe fresh air into our future. We breathe fresh air into our present. And we decide going forward that this is how I'm going to make my life. So let me share with you the last tip for today. The last tip is for you to know that your future is amazing. Right? Oftentimes we are afraid because we do not know what the future will hold. That's what fear is. Fear is it's an irrational emotion on something that we do not know will happen, but we think is going to happen. We are afraid because we cannot see exactly how things are going to turn out. But when you really think about it, fear is the reverse of faith. Fear believes in the unknown. Faith believes in what will be, right? And there's a distinction. When you are afraid of what is unknown, you are apprehensive, you are restrictive, you are limited, you are held back. But when you operate in faith because you know that this is where my future is going to be, you take steps of faith. You are in movement, you are in positivity, you are limitless because you don't see boundaries. And so the final thing that I want to say to help you overcome times of fear is for you to really believe that your future is amazing. And let me tell you why your future is amazing. Your future is amazing because you determine it to be so. You are the only one that can create your future. And you are the only one that can create your future based on what you believe in your mind, what you believe you can achieve, what you believe you can do. This is why having a clear vision for your goals, this is why having a clear vision for your life will be so important for you to see that my future is amazing. Every time you feel afraid, it's an indication that you have not tapped into the vision that you have for yourself. And so I would encourage you that if you have not sat down to think about what do you want from your life, spend some time today sitting down and being deliberate about creating what you want for your life. Because you are the one to create your future. No one is going to create the future for you. You create the future based on how you choose to make decisions every single moment in your life. Every decision you are making is creating your future. So whether you are making decisions that are high vibrational and in alignment with the desires of your heart or not, it is creating your future. So you get to choose. And I think this is a really exciting thing to understand and an exciting mindset shift to make. That you get to choose how your future turns out. And you get to make that choice by day to day making decisions, taking steps, setting goals that all align with the desires of your heart. And this is where I round up today's class to just encourage you that whatever you may be afraid of, it is not bigger than what you can accomplish. Your fear is only as big as you allow it to be. The moment you come face to face with the thing that you are afraid of and you actually dissect it and you actually analyze it and you actually reason it out, that's when your breakthrough comes through. That's when you begin to realize that, why am I afraid of this thing? Like, that's so irrational. What makes me think that life is going to be hard in 3 years' time? What makes me think that coming out of this pandemic, I'm not going to have any prospects? And so I want you to fully harness the power of knowing that your mind is really where everything starts. And so I will recap what I have just shared with you, the 6 tips that I've just shared with you guys today. And we've been talking about overcoming fear. We've been talking about how to realize your potential. And we've talked about the fact that fear is not something that is strange to us. It's a natural human behavior, natural human instinct. But where it becomes a problem is where we allow fear to hold us back from pursuing our dreams. And the first way I said that you can overcome fear is by writing down your fears. Writing down your fears is where you get to really look and analyze whether this fear is a reasonable, tangible fear. We obviously have physical fear where we're in physical danger and we know that, for example, if the house is burning down or if a lion is chasing us, we know that that is a real genuine fear for us to have, and as a result we can take necessary action. But a lot of the times the fears that we have, there's no basis to it. It's a figment of our imagination. But when you write down what these fears are, it gives you the opportunity to see just how much of a figment of the imagination it is, and therefore it allows you to just dispel that imagination just as easy as you created that imagination. Then I talked about living in the moment. I talked about the fact that if you are stuck in the past or if you are worried about the future, you are actually more or less operating like a dead person, because a dead person is the only thing that cannot live and breathe in the moment. You cannot live and breathe in the past. You cannot live and breathe in the future. You can only live and breathe in the moment, into now, in this second. Every second is your future. Every breath is your future. And so sitting down for hours and hours and worrying about how will it turn out? Will I get a boyfriend? Will I get a husband? Will I get this job? Will I get this money? Will my life ever change? You're not living. You're not living and you're not in the present. And so I talked about being in the present, meaning focusing on what is happening now. If there is a legitimate danger in your life, focus on that legitimate danger in that moment. But also, if there are good things happening in your life, focus on those good things. Forget about the future. Forget about the past. And then the third thing that I talked about was taming the mind, getting your mind to be more disciplined. Take control more of your mind. Don't allow your mind to just run wild and unrestrained. Take responsibility for how you are thinking. Take responsibility for how you are allowing the thoughts in your mind to affect the things that you are doing and how it's affecting your outcomes. And then I talked about letting go of the past. I talked about the fact that when you let go of the past, it enables you to have an open hand to receive better, greater blessings. No matter what pain you have experienced in the past, you have the ability to heal from it, move on from it, and learn from it. And if you have the understanding that everything is always working out together for your greatest good, even in the bad times, you will be able to let go of things that have hurt you, have held you back, that are in your past, and create yourself a hopeful future. And that leads up to the last point, which is about seeing your future as amazing and understanding that your future really is what you choose it to be. Understanding that you are in control, you are in that driving seat, you are the one that gets to turn the ignition on in your car and decide what destination that you want to get to. And so if you decide that I'm just going to stay paralyzed in fear, then you are ultimately deciding to create a future that is not going to give you much joy. But if you decide that I'm going to move in the direction of my dreams day by day, I'm going to move in that place that I desire, you are ultimately painting your own masterpiece for your future. And this is where I will round up to say, guys, as we move into more and more uncertain times, I want you to take control of what you know you can, and that is your mind and your behavior and your actions. So don't let fear hold you back. I don't have an assignment for you guys today because today is a Sunday and it's a day of rest. But what I do want you to do is to think about it. Think about areas in your life where you have allowed yourself to be so afraid that you have not gone and done the things that you desire. And just make a commitment to yourself today that going forward from today, I am actually going to be courageous. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to step out even when I feel afraid, and I'm going to get this thing done. And can I say something to you guys? Large majority of everything that I do, anything, whether it's relocating to Nigeria, starting a new job, setting up a business, everything that I have ever done that was of significance to me was always with fear, but I did it anyway. I did not allow fear to hold me back and stop me from what I wanted. And it's to show you that even when you are afraid, because sometimes we just are, you should not allow that to hold you back or to set you back. So that's what I'm sharing with you guys today. Thank you so much for joining. So many of you came online. Thank you so much. Stop coughing, it's scary. Oh God, you guys are so funny. So Omolara, you're in Ibadan. Nice to see you. Hi Titi. Hi Foma Williams. Hi the Intel Chi. Thank you for showing up, guys. Today was a mellow one because I just wanted us to kind of stay in that reflective spiritual mode. But I'm so glad to see so many of you from all of the workshops turning up to every single day. The Real Chisholm says, every time I feel afraid is an indication that you have not not tapped into your vision for yourself. That's right. Every decision you are making is creating your future. Your fear is only as big as you allow it to be. Whatever you are afraid of is not bigger than what you can accomplish. Awesome. I love these notes. Write down your fears. Come face to face with them, right? So you guys have definitely understood what has been going on in this class. If you missed part of it, please watch the replay. And wow, I'm just seeing so many of your comments. Yes, live in the moment. If you focus on the past and the future, it only means you are not existing in the moment. Yeah, this topic is already an assignment because me personally, I have to start taming my mind. And this is from Style Coach Culture. You are most welcome, Finance Chick. Thank you so much, Queen Stella. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Titi. Thank you so much, ladies. Don't forget to show up. We've got just 2 more days left, guys. And on the last day, I am going to be announcing some winners. Remember, I have some freebies for you guys. I have some data recharge for you. I have some shopping vouchers for you. And of course, I have a copy of my newly released and best-selling The Modern Woman Planner. This planner is what so many people are trying to get their hands on. And so if you know you want to have a chance to win this, here's what I want you to do. Are you guys ready? You know what's coming up, right? You know what's coming up. This is where you get to do a screenshot, 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 screenshot. And now I want you to post what you have learned from today's class. Post what you have learned from today's class, share it with your friends, and tell your friends to not miss out on the last 2 days. I have a very, very special announcement that I'm going to make on the last day of the Lockdown Personal Growth Challenge. You do not want to miss it. Apart from me announcing who the winners of the data recharge, the shopping vouchers, and the planners will be, you do not want to miss this announcement that I'm going to make. So make sure you post and you tag me on your Instagram, because that is the only way I can make a record of who is eligible for the freebie. And on the last day, which is day 7, the 7th of April, we are going to collectively choose the winner. So there will be no INEC type of situation going on, no forging of elections going on. Everything is going to be done in a very democratic way, because we're all going to choose the winners, and I'll explain how we're going to choose the winners on the last day. So guys, it's been amazing sharing with you as always for the last 5 days, and I'm always excited when I see how much you guys have taken on and how much you guys have learned. I appreciate your time. Thank you for trusting me and taking your time to come and share today with me and all the other days. If you have missed any of the days, you can get the replays of my classes by joining my email list. So if you're not on my email list, what I would love for you to do is to click the link in my bio after this class. Click the link in my bio, tap the first link within that bio, and then just enter your name and your email details, and you will get a copy of this my slides, the lessons replays for each of every other day that we have had.